this topic doesn't get spoken about enough. I just have to talk about this. This needs to be addressed. I've addressed it before, but not enough people are talking about this. Not enough men are speaking up. Not enough, younger men like myself are speaking up out here about these things. And so this topic, this message that I want to share on here is about men in our society, specifically because I live in the United States, specifically in the United States. Okay, this country doesn't care. This country just breaks down men, squeezes them for their work, squeezes them for their health, tells them to work harder and pay more and do more and be more. Also, society can milk the man for his money, all right? Trying to get him to buy all these things to prove his worth, drain him of his energy and life force by saying that you need to get with a woman and have kids, or get with a woman and, live a certain lifestyle. Well, the men that do that, which is 99% of men in society in this country, they're drained because their partner, their wife, their girlfriend doesn't even love them, like them, or appreciate them. So they get drained over and over again, and they're locked in, they're stuck, they have nothing to show for it. They don't want to leave because they're desperate and they have no respect, self-respect, or self-esteem. So they stay in these marriages, they stay in these relationships because they know if they try and leave, their whole life will be upside down, emotionally, physically, or materially. Okay? And so society breaks men down and tells them to work harder and like I just said, that you're not enough and that you need to have these things, you need to be this type of way. If you're lacking in this department, you need to compensate for it in this department. And neglect yourself, don't respect yourself. Who cares about you? You need to sacrifice, suffer, and serve, or else you're not a man. And all that's a lie. Okay, I'm here to speak out against that. Not enough people in this country, men or women, but especially men, not enough guys, not enough single men, not enough married men, okay, are whether they realize this or not, they're not speaking up about it. They tolerate so much disrespect, tolerate so much BS from society, the programming, okay, and they're made to believe that women are supposed to run the show. And ultimately, that's part of why this country, I think, is upside down, is because if you actually use your brain and be logical and don't act out of emotion, you think before you speak, you're careful with your money, you don't let women take you down the wrong path, you don't listen to society's messages, you can see the world for what it truly is, and then a man that is in that department of like all those things I just mentioned a second ago, a man like that gets rejected from society in so many ways. And what's a guy to do at that point, right? I've been told that it's not just this country. I've been told that it's worse in the UK, but I've talked to men before who have gone overseas, for example, right? I'm sure you've heard of the passport bros, men who, get on a plane and go live somewhere, another country, right? I've been told that it's kind of the same thing over there, is they get scammed, or, the women will get them to spend money on them, and, they can't make it, so they have to come back, and then they start over, and the cycle continues. And so, but putting that aside, it's like I said, what's a man to do anymore? It's atrocious, in my opinion. Not enough people speak about it. This country has completely annihilated the a masculine man. This country has completely obliterated masculine men. This country shames men for being men. This country cannot stand people, specifically the male gender, okay, men like myself, for being who God made us to be, being who we were, who we are created to be on different levels. And it's really sad because, it's very discouraging. I'll put it that way. All right. It's very discouraging. I've seen men in my own family, they pretty much caved into this, and they become part of the matrix, part of the system where, they do everything they can to please women and, make sure everybody knows that they're playing their role as a man, only to be in terrible health. All right. Their bodies are broken down. They're constantly sick, always complaining about not having enough money. The women they do hang out with or they date, it never works out, because I think they don't, these men that I'm speak of right now, they don't realize that, the women are only, this is a sick game, and the women just want to get as much as they can. They want to milk as many resources as they can from whoever they can, and they don't want to reciprocate. They don't want to play a role, and they just want to take and dip. And the men have been so brainwashed in this rotten society that give and suffer, and like I spoke of in my previous videos, a lot of men believe that being a good man is suffering and serving, and that is, on paper, that could be true, but only for the right women, the right family, the right society. Okay, you can't do that in this country. You can't do that in this society. You'll be screwed over. It's basically self-harm at that point. All right, I see it all the time. I'm going off on a side tangent right now, but recently I was sitting outside, and I saw this delivery driver. I guess he was delivering for a store nearby, and he backed up his truck and got out and waited for the store employees to unload the truck. Okay, so he was walking around waiting for the employees to unload the truck. Okay, this was a supplier, maybe a delivery driver, dropping off a big semi delivery. And this man, he pulls out a cigarette. He's chilling, he's walking around, on his phone, right? He looks to be about 50 or 60 years old. This man is bent over, like his back is like this, shuffling along, and his face doesn't look that old. Like, yeah, he had grayish hair, but his face, he didn't look that old. But this guy was broken, bent over, like shuffling around, hitting a cigarette, which is cool, but he just looked broken. He looked depressed. I being an empath, I could pretty much see visually his energy, but also sense his energy, the energy coming off him. And that's just one example of the many examples I see out here. But that's what society does. They make you work to pay your bills that are overpriced, by the way, telling you that it's not enough, jacking up the rent every now and then, raising prices of food every now and then they tell you to go get with a woman. Okay, a majority of men, that I know, at least from my experience, a majority of the population, they have women as their partners. Okay, so society tells them to go get a woman. Okay, and then the women make them feel that they're not enough. They want more. They want them to work harder. And if the guy pushes back, as he should push back, put her in her place, he's the bad guy, and he's afraid that she'll leave or she'll do something and screw him over. So they fold, and because they're so drained, they don't know how to speak up. And this is a toxic pattern because their fathers did this, and their father's father's father did this. And back then, things were cheaper and times were different. So sure, maybe your great-grandfather or your grandfather could get away with that and still have enough money and have enough, means to, take care of himself and, not feel as depleted. But nowadays, the food's worse, the prices are worse, the women are worse. I'm not trying to complain about women, but that's just a fact, is that, if you know how to deal with, women and girls out here, it's not natural. All right. People will say, oh, just adapt, but it's not natural. It's not natural at all. It's not healthy. And they push the message that to be a real man, you gotta, play along with these toxic dynamics and these toxic women and these toxic jobs. But it's not okay. It's a slow killer. So I just want to get on here and talk about that. And, it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. Like, again, I'm not trying to complain. I don't like to complain, but I do tell the truth, and I see things for what they truly are. I paid the price for stuff like this. I've, been, rejected and been dealt with for who I am, and I've been put through things because I want to go against the status quo. I dare to be me. I dare to be who I am, and people do not like that. And so I notice things now. When you've been through enough of pain, when you've been through enough, you begin to be a really good observer, okay? And I've observed a lot. And I just wanted to speak about this. Not enough people talk about it. It's really sad, and I don't know what the solution is. Because as far as I know, it's not better anywhere else. The only real way to solve this problem is to really go off the grid and just isolate and be alone. Even though that's not ideal, but that's pretty much the only choice men have these days. Because everything is just so toxic. Everything is so, I'm not going to say it on here because I don't want to offend anyone. This channel's for everyone. It's an inclusive environment, but it's just, everything is just, I'm not going to say it. And so, but that's something to think about for you watching this video. Maybe you go out there and you'll observe yourself how society cannot stand men. They beat us down. Even when we try and play at their level, and we try and, at least for me personally, it's like these people look at me and they know who I am, and they instantly, it's like I'm a rejected instantly, even if I play along with them, even if I, stoop to their level. It's frustrating after a while. And so after a while, it gets really hard to trust people. It gets hard to open up to people because everyone's the same. And it's really sad.